Now, welcome back to part 4 of Race is Over, What's Next. With the holiday season around the corner, you should be in the midst or almost finishing up your goal planning as well as your training plans ahead for 2014. Now, if you remember last week, I shared with you about the importance of goal planning. Why is it that some people plan goals, some people don't? I also started on the smarter approach to goal planning, and I was able to spend some time talking to you about the S and the M of smarter or specific and measurable. So today we are going to continue with from last week about Sports Psychology 101, where I'll be uh, touching back on where I left off last week on the other components of smarter, as well as a couple of tips you can use in your daily approach towards training. Now, we have already covered the S and M, S being specific, M being measurable. So the next few alphabets next will be A, or the action plan of SMART. When we come to planning for your run, the action plan simply refers to what are the steps you need to achieve your goal. Do you need to hire a running coach to help you with your training program? Or do you need to visit a lab in a hospital to remeasure your running fitness, to do a fitness test like lactate threshold or VO2 max to give you some baseline measures to work on. So these are examples of action plan that you need. But having an action plan, having a goal is one thing. The next thing that you need to consider is the R, or the realistic component of your planning. Always remember that your goals must be challenging. It must be able to engage your effort and your interest. However, no matter how challenging it is, remember, it must also be achievable. Your targets should be set at a realistic level, something that you and others can live with. Others being your family, or unless, of course, you are single like me. Otherwise, most of you guys and girls probably has a family, has children, has kids. So when you set your running goals, make sure that it is something that can accommodate your family, not just yourself. And also start conservative if you have just started your program. I.e., if you are going for your first marathon in 6 months' time, you should aim to finish injury free instead of time pressure for this first race. Otherwise, if you set too unrealistic a goal for your first race, you might end up injuring yourself in the preparation phase and you might not even make it to the starting line. So remember, your approach, your planning has to be realistic. Then we come to T, time conscious. What is the time frame for the main goal and the action plans? Remember, I tell you that during the measurable component, you need to have a main goal for your running year. What is the main event that you're preparing for? So in this case, time conscious, maybe it's to do your first marathon in 6 to 8 months' time. So that 6 to 8 months is the time frame you set for yourself. For your action plan, it must have a time frame as well, i.e., to hire a running coach within 2 weeks and to start a running program immediately after that. That is an example of being time conscious. Now, the SMART approach is the mainstream way which life coaches often engage their clients in planning their goals. SMART is enough to give you the good progress. However, always remember that good is often the enemy of the best. What we want to derive from this 10-minute talk from me is that I want to teach you how to derive the best outcome from your planning. And so for us, or at least for me, I add an E and the R to SMART, making it smarter. So the E in this case is simply referring to expectations management. I repeat, E is expectation management. It is really being flexible about your plan because you must not forget that your perfect plan exists in an imperfect world. No matter how great or how perfect the planning is, there are issues such as falling sick, changes in life priorities, new decisions such as marriage or new birth. All this will affect your training program and your racing plan for next year. So learn to manage your expectations that life is not just about doing that personal best for a marathon or achieving a sub 40-minute 10K. Be flexible in your planning. Remember, it is pleasant to see plans develop. That is why fools refuse to give them up, even if they are wrong. And finally, R. R stands for revelations. This, to me, is the make or break point of all training program. In all my years working with runners, I realized that what push those to succeed ultimately falls back on their motivation. You have to ask yourself very firmly, what motivates you to train and race? Are you someone who is outcome focused or process oriented? You need to have a revelation of why you're doing what you're doing. I cannot tell you whether are you a outcome focused or process focused person, but have a look at this couple of guidelines I've placed here, um, and see where do you fit in. If you're someone who tend to be highly ambitious and your confidence as a runner is based on race time, your routine is very strict, even you're injured, you still train, etc. Chances are you're a very outcome focused person. Whereas if you're process focused, you'll fall more on the table on the right hand side. So do have a look and see what type of runner you are. There is no right or wrong to this, whether is being process focused superior to being outcome oriented. End of the day, you just need to know what is motivating you to train. And that pretty much settles the smarter approach to planning. We're going to spend the next 2 minutes or so talking about your daily steps. Now, this thing about these daily steps, they are strategies which I often teach people to manage the race itself on race day. But over the years, I come to realize that these strategies can be used in your day-to-day training as well. So the first truth, or the first thing I want to tell you, is that your training runs, not all of your training runs will feel the same, even if it's the same distance and road. There will be days whereby you end strong, and whereby there will be days you don't even want to take the first step out of the door to run. So the trick here is to try to feel strong and good for as many of these runs as possible. The most efficient or something that I find very useful for most of runners is this technique called association and disassociation during the run. Association is to be focused of your body's reaction to intensity. That when you run, you're aware of your heart rate, your breathing pattern, that you're in good control of your pace. Whereas on the other hand, this association is simply to be distracted and not to be aware of how you're feeling during the run. So some people they might just want to plug in their earphones into their MP3, blast it all up, and just use the music to numb the pain and the heart intensity and to finish the run. Whereas for some others, they want to be in tune with how they feel during the training, the Zen state of running. Which works for who? Well, it's really a very much a try and error approach. The effect actually varies quite significantly between individual. So I'll very much encourage you to try both the association and disassociation and see for yourself which works best for you. And you can actually start practicing that in your training run. It will make your run a lot better. Trust me on this. Now, as we come to the end of the year with just one more session to go, In our finale, my finale, I'm going to talk to you about something more practical that you can use in your training, something called prehabilitation and safety screening. With the increasing cases of cardiac arrest in races, what is your risk level like? Do you need a screening? What exactly is screening all about? Prehabilitation. How do you know if you have any injury time bombs waiting to go off? And next, from there, I'll share with you some basic strength conditioning principles that you can use in your training for 2014. Now, in case you're not aware, for next year's Twilight Ultra Challenge 2014, every participant, we are going to give them a complimentary 6-ounce Ultra Aspire foldable cup. This is actually quite a good item which you can use over and over again, and it's excellent for saving the environment. It folds into a very compact sizes. So after the race, you don't have to throw the cup away. Bring it home. You can bring it with you for future races. So in 2013, we give every runner in Twilight Haagen-Dazs ice cream. So in 2014, you get this cup. Remember, early bird registration closes on 31st December, so please don't miss out on our early bird prizes. And of course, with Christmas just around the corner, the team at Running Guild would like to wish all viewers Merry Christmas, run safe, run strong, and I'll see you again next week. Bye bye.